It all started with a scream. The Joker, in his ultimate act of depravity, tricked Superman into killing his own wife, Lois Lane, their unborn child. But that wasn't the end of his twisted game. Lois's heart was linked to a nuclear bomb, hidden in the heart of Metropolis. When her heart stopped, the city was annihilated. Millions died in an instant. That single horrific day shattered more than just a city. It shattered the world's greatest hero. It broke Superman. The Man of Steel, consumed by grief and rage, decided that humanity could no longer be trusted to govern itself. He believed true peace could only be achieved through absolute control, and he had the power to enforce it. He crossed a line he swore he would never cross. Superman flew to the Joker's prison cell and plunged his hand through the clown's chest, ending his life and beginning a new, terrifying era. This was the birth of the One Earth regime. Superman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Robin. They began to enforce a global dictatorship. They dismantled governments. They executed criminals without trial. They crushed all dissent. Their intentions might have started with a desire for peace, but their methods were those of tyrants. 5 years after the fall of the regime, the world was still picking up the pieces. Batman, operating from the shadows, worked tirelessly to rebuild. He and his allies tried to restore a semblance of democracy and order. Lucius Fox, a reformed Harley Quinn. But the scars of Superman's rule ran deep. Cities were still in ruins, and the global infrastructure was a mess. More importantly, the world was divided. Many still believed in Superman's vision of absolute peace, even if it came at the cost of freedom. They saw Batman as a man who had allowed chaos to return, a vigilante who had imprisoned their savior. The world was a tinderbox, waiting for a spark. Superman remained locked away, a ghost haunting the new world. His cell deep underground was designed to suppress his Kryptonian powers completely. Wonder Woman, Cyborg, both were also fugitives hunted by Batman's network. The remnants of the regime were scattered but not gone. They believed their leader's return was inevitable and just. This fragile peace was further threatened by the emergence of a new faction, the Society. Led by Gorilla Grodd, Grodd united villains under a single banner: Scarecrow, Cheetah, Captain Cold, Bane. Their goal, total global domination. They launched coordinated attacks across the globe, sowing fear and chaos, proving that Batman's new world was just as vulnerable as the old one. Just as the world teetered on the brink, a new and far more terrifying threat descended from the stars. A colossal skull-shaped ship appeared in Earth's orbit, its shadow falling over the planet like a death shroud. This was the vessel of Brainiac, the self-proclaimed collector of worlds. An ancient, hyper-intelligent Coluan, Brainiac traveled the cosmos, seeking out planets with unique knowledge civilizations. He would absorb all the information a world had to offer, digitize its greatest cities, and then, to preserve their uniqueness, he would obliterate the planet itself. He was not a conqueror seeking to rule, he was a librarian of the apocalypse, and Earth was his next acquisition. Brainiac's arrival was devastating. His army of robotic betas swarmed the planet, overwhelming Earth's defenses with terrifying efficiency. Cities that had survived the regime's war were now besieged by an unstoppable alien force. Brainiac's methods were cold and clinical. He wasn't driven by malice or rage, but by a chilling, logical purpose. He saw Earth's knowledge, its art, its history as data to be collected. The people, the lives, the memories, they were merely disposable packaging. He targeted major cities across the globe, preparing them for collection, a process that would shrink them down and bottle them up before the planet's final destruction. The Society, led by Grodd, had been secretly working for Brainiac all along. The guerrilla mastermind had been promised control of Africa in exchange for helping soften Earth's defenses for the invasion. However, Grodd quickly learned the folly of trusting a cosmic destroyer. Faced with planetary extinction, old hatreds had to be set aside. Batman knew his forces were no match for Brainiac's army. He needed more power, and that meant making deals with the devil. Reluctantly, he began to form a temporary, fragile alliance. He freed Green Arrow and Black Canary, who had been in hiding, and even brought a reformed Harley Quinn into his inner circle. She had proven herself a loyal if chaotic, finding a strange sort of redemption in fighting for the world she once helped terrorize. These were the easy choices. The harder ones were yet to come. A crucial new player entered the conflict. Kara Zor-El, Superman's cousin, also known as Supergirl. She had arrived on Earth years after Kal-El, her ship knocked off course. She was found and raised in secret by Black Adam, a firm believer in the regime's ideology. He taught her that her cousin was a hero who had brought peace to a chaotic world, and that Batman was a villain who had unjustly imprisoned him. When Brainiac attacked, Kara was eager to fight, believing she was joining a noble cause. She was powerful, hopeful, and completely unaware of the brutal truth behind her cousin's reign and the destruction he had caused. The threat of Brainiac forced Batman to consider the unthinkable, releasing his former allies from the regime. He tracked down Cyborg and proposed a temporary truce, knowing his technological expertise was vital to understanding Brainiac's systems. He even traveled to Themyscira to free Wonder Woman, his former friend and one of the regime's staunchest defenders. Diana, proud and unyielding, agreed to fight alongside him, but made it clear that their alliance was one of convenience. Once Brainiac was defeated, she fully intended to liberate Superman and restore the regime, believing its iron rule was the only way to protect Earth from future threats. The decision to free Superman weighed heavily on Batman's soul. It was a calculated risk, a desperate gamble that went against every instinct he had. For 5 years, he had worked to build a world free from Superman's control. A world where humanity could make its own mistakes and find its own way. Now, to save that very world, he had to unleash the greatest threat it had ever known. He was forced to trust the man who had murdered their friends, the man who had become a global dictator. This choice created a deep rift within his own team. Green Arrow, Black Canary. Both had suffered under the regime and saw his choice as catastrophic. This moral compromise was just the beginning. The reluctant alliance fought Brainiac. Bruce had to manage volatile personalities. He coordinated with Wonder Woman. Her words pushed to restore the regime. He worked alongside Superman, watching for tyranny to return. Batman's greatest weapon, his mind, his ability to plan for every contingency. But the situation was unpredictable. He was walking a tightrope trying to save the world without losing it to his old friend all over again. Leadership isolated him. Unpopular decisions for the greater good. Allies alienated. He relied on a version of Brother Eye surveillance. It looked painfully like the regime's tool. Hypocrisy gnawed at him. Was he becoming what he fought? With Superman freed, the tide of the battle began to turn, but not without immense cost. The newly formed alliance launched a coordinated assault on Brainiac's forces. Superman and Supergirl, a powerful Kryptonian duo, tore through the beta drones, giving Batman's forces the raw power they'd lacked. Meanwhile, Cyborg worked feverishly to hack into Brainiac's ship, searching for a weakness. The initial victories were inspiring, a brief moment of hope in the face of overwhelming odds. Heroes and villains fought side by side in the ruined streets of Metropolis and Gotham, a sight that would have been unthinkable just days before. A major turning point came when Brainiac revealed the full extent of his collection. He showed the heroes his gallery of stolen cities, countless civilizations encased in glass, including the Kryptonian city of Kandor. This revelation hit Superman hard, and it hit Supergirl hard. For Superman, it was another failure, another world he couldn't save. For Supergirl, it was a devastating blow that shattered her idealized image of her home world. The sight of Kandor, a piece of Krypton preserved yet dead, hardened their resolve. Defeating Brainiac was no longer just about saving Earth, it was about avenging the countless worlds he had already destroyed. The Alliance suffered devastating losses and betrayals. In a crucial battle, Dr. Fate intervened, revealing that the Lords of Order believed a universe without Brainiac or Superman would bring an even greater cataclysm. He attempted to remove both from the battlefield but was ultimately defeated, his intervention only sowing more chaos and doubt among the heroes. The most personal blow came when Wonder Woman, seeing Superman's power as the only true solution, began to actively undermine Batman's authority. She encouraged Superman to embrace his full strength, arguing that his restraint was a weakness Earth could no longer afford, setting the stage for their inevitable conflict. The final phase of the invasion centered on wresting control of Brainiac's ship. Batman devised a plan to use the ship's own technology against it, hoping to restore the bottled cities and reverse the damage. This required a direct assault on Brainiac himself. The climactic battle took place on the bridge of the Skull ship, where Superman, Supergirl, and Batman faced Brainiac in his true form, a being of immense physical and mental power. After a brutal, desperate fight, they managed to subdue the Collector of Worlds. But with Brainiac defeated and his ship under their control, the Alliance immediately fractured. The war for the world was over. The war for its soul was about to begin. The final confrontation aboard Brainiac's ship forced the player and the world to a crossroads, leading to two distinct and dramatic endings. The choice was simple. Batman's vision, freedom and flawed humanity. Superman's vision, enforced, absolute peace. Not just a fight of fists, a battle for the soul of the planet. Each path represented a possible future for the Injustice universe. One built on hope and risk, the other on control and certainty. The ultimate outcome depended on which Titan won the final duel. The first ending, absolute justice, follows Superman's victory. In this scenario, Superman defeats Batman in a brutal one-on-one fight. With his opposition crushed, he merges with Brainiac's ship, gaining complete control over its advanced technology. He becomes something more than a Kryptonian, a living god. His consciousness, linked to a near-infinite network of information and power. He uses this power to restore all of Earth's cities, succeeding where Batman's caution would have failed. He becomes the world's savior once again, but at a terrible price. He believes his way is the only way. With his power absolute, Superman imprisons Supergirl in a red sun cell. He hopes to one day re-educate her to his way of thinking. He then turns his attention to Batman. Rather than kill him, he chooses a crueler fate. He uses Brainiac's tech to turn Bruce into a mindless puppet, forever stripping Bruce Wayne of his will and making him a compliant servant of the regime. Superman, seated on a throne aboard the Skull ship, becomes the planet's eternal warden. He achieves absolute peace but extinguishes freedom, ruling over a world of puppets. The second ending, Absolute Power, follows Batman's victory. In this timeline, Batman, using his tactical genius and an array of gadgets, manages to defeat the Man of Steel. He proves even a god can fall to a mortal with enough preparation and resolve. With Superman subdued, Batman carries out his original plan. He restores as many collected cities as he can, mourning those lost, but accepting the tragic necessity of the choice. He has saved the world from Brainiac and from tyranny, preserving humanity's right to choose its own destiny. The world is free, but scarred and vulnerable. The two possible futures presented at the end of Injustice 2 paint a stark picture of the universe's fate, each a different flavor of dystopia. In the ending where Superman wins, the world is reborn under his absolute dominion. He becomes a global dictator with the power of a god, his authority unquestionable, his reach infinite. Brainiac's ship as his throne, Brother Eye as his all-seeing eye monitoring every person on the planet. Crime vanishes, wars cease to exist. Dissent, free will, hope. Humanity is safe, but it is caged, living in a gilded prison built by its former savior. This future is a dark reflection of Superman's original goal. He achieved the peace he craved after Metropolis's destruction, but he became a monster to do it. By surgically removing Batman's will, he eliminates not just his greatest adversary, but the very idea of opposition. He turns the symbol of human resilience into a mindless slave. His treatment of Supergirl is equally chilling. He plans to break her spirit and mold her into an obedient soldier. Once the line is crossed, there is no coming back. Superman's path ends in benevolent tyranny, a peaceful world devoid of what makes life worth living. Conversely, the ending where Batman wins offers a glimmer of hope, but it's fragile and tarnished. Batman has saved freedom, but the world is more broken than ever. Cities are permanently gone, the planet reels from two devastating wars. The ideological rift remains. Superman is defeated, but his followers remain. Many citizens still believe his methods were just. Batman must lead a new Justice League in a world that doesn't fully trust him, forever haunted by the compromises he made. He preserved the world's right to choose, but can't guarantee it will choose wisely. Batman faces a terrible choice about the defeated Superman. He strips him of his powers with gold kryptonite and exiles him to the Phantom Zone, a dimensional prison with no escape. Necessary, but a profound tragedy. He condemns his former best friend to an eternity of isolation. There are no easy victories. Batman's path saves the world from tyranny, but leaves it vulnerable and fractured forever, living in the shadow of what it lost. Both endings reflect the corrupting nature of absolute power and the impossible choices faced by those who wield it.